this is Spring is the Action. Here, myself, Roel.
Myself, Nathan here.
And our special guest here, we got one of the members from the Rocky Mountain Pro roster, Mr. Serverino Corrente. Is that correct, man?
No, that was not even close.
It's Serverino Corrente.
That was one of the worst attempts I think I've heard in a long time. Damn, man.
So,
Severino Corrente.
Severino Corrente.
There you go.
All right. So my question is, we know that been saying this a lot. You know, most events for the past couple of months have been postponed because of the quarantine. We just want to ask you a question on what you've been up to since during the quarantine. Rocky Mountain Pro show's been postponed, man.
I've actually probably been a little bit more fortunate than most. I have a pretty steady career, so I've been able to just lean on that. So financially, I've been in pretty good shape, unlike a lot of the people in my friend group at this point who's all been struggling. And just honestly, just keeping my head down, just trying to practice that social distancing as much as possible before all this. Was very fortunate. The Heidi Howitzer and Austin Reddick was able to work out at their house because they've got the home gym, so I was able to keep that at least somewhat consistent. And since they were both just working from home, it was very low risk when it came to the social interaction. So just like everyone else, I've just been waiting for some normalcy to come back.
Any question you want to add, that Nate?
Yes, so we're talking about wrestling. So can you tell us what got you into wrestling, and then if so, who inspired you to get into the business?
I've talked about this before, the storyline of myself and Anai, him being my teacher, that's art imitating life. He was, I went to Rack House, one drink with a wrestler, had a drink with him. He pretty much educated me because I never put two and two together that, oh, you can actually do this. Like this is something that average everyday Joes, guys and gals like train for, and they do. I for some reason 3 years ago was just like, nah, these wrestlers just pop out of the ground and they just do this. So I signed up then with the academy and went, and I've been a fan since I was a kid, and my dad, it's the classic story. My dad was a fan. I watched it with my brother to bond with him, and just fell in love with it that way.
Can you explain who was the wrestler that you grew up with? Like, who is the first wrestler you inspire growing up liking in this business?
Edge.
Edge
is by far number one. Edge was the first person I remember in wrestling to get a genuine reaction out of me, and hated his guts like he wanted you to, like they wanted you to. I remember when it was the first time I had ever seen, it was at Mania when Jeff Hardy crashed through Edge from the top of the ladder, through the ladder, and I was screaming just bloody murder at my television, so happy. That was the first reaction of me when I saw what wrestling could be, and I saw how good of a villain he was. And he made you believe it.
Yeah, can you explain to me, can you describe for me is that what built up getting to know your character, Serverino Corrente? How did you get up and make that character?
Well, Severino Corrente is actually my middle and last name, which is my grandfather's full name. And everyone in my life has always called me Corrente. So the name, I liked how it sounded. I am Italian, so it just rolled very nicely. But the character itself, Severino Corrente is not far off from who I am when it comes to how he acts. I don't have the same skill as some other wrestlers when it comes to you can play a character just like that. I always use Kip Rascal, and before he had to go home to take care of a lot of personal matters, Tristan versus Kip, they're two completely different entities. It's incredible. Tristan's soft-spoken, very polite, and then Kip Rascal is this rowdy hellraiser, right? I can't do that as effectively. So for me, Severino, I looked at myself and went, all right, what are all your negatives that you know you have? Temper, aggressive, you know, I can be like any human being. I can be jealous, I can be petty. And in my normal life, you try and, you know, work with all those weaknesses and negatives, and you try and bury them, or you try and work past them, and you use your strengths to enhance that and be a good person. Severino allows me to dive into those, and it's almost therapeutic because I can express aggravation. I can use my aggression in a healthy kind of way that then allows me to play this character where it's not much of a character. It's just another form of me. That's Severino.
All right. Is there anything you want to add, Nate? Any questions?
Sure. Like, can you tell us about your time with the Triumphant? Like, you know, we saw you working with Simone Huckart and Bruce Williams.
Yeah.
Can you tell us like how your chemistry worked with that team?
Yeah. And Porter Blake at the time, Vlad Balasha for, you know, quick, fast 15 minutes. It felt like my time with those guys is one of my more proud moments in wrestling, and not for the reasons of, oh, I was the big boss of the stable, and oh God, I was man. No, it was, I've done in 30 years of wrestling more than I ever thought I could possibly done. I've been part of Make-A-Wishes. I was on AEW, and I already have pretty much eclipsed all my goals. The thing I enjoy now most in wrestling by far is now coaching, training, and helping other people figure it out. My goal never was to be, you know, signed with, like, I started this, I was 26. I'm under 6 foot tall. I know my limitations here. My goal isn't to be the next New Japan champ. I'm realistic. I just want it to be good. Now that I've gotten okay, I want to help people get there. So when I had the chance to run the stable, Bruce was 4 or 5 months in, maybe a half year into his training. And Simone had trained a little bit in Australia, but nothing consistent and serious. So she was about 2 months in. So to be able to, and Blake had been doing this for so long that he's got all of us all combined by years, but he was only in for a very short amount of time. To take those two and kind of help groom them, help them figure out just the minor things, ring placement, footwork, character development. That was, for me, what I want to do in wrestling now, is help people figure out those small things and just get their potential going.
Was there any, who was the best, you know, ring work have you done wrestle at the Rocky Mountain Pro?
Question. I've been wow, that's a I was really lucky when I started that I had a spree of opponents that were just all vastly better than me, and they made me better. I mean, my first match was Anaya, and then the opponents after that was Dustin Urick, Mario Vanger, Curtis Cole, Matthew Yaden, Robbie E. for a one-off. Like, probably the person I have the best chemistry with is probably Anaya. We've wrestled the most, and at this point, we don't really talk. At this point, when we go out there, we just kind of throw it together and just go and have fun out there and listen to the crowd. Gregory Iron, I've wrestled twice, and that guy does not get enough exposure, or not enough people talk about him, because that man was born with a severe disability, and he's a better wrestler than damn near anyone I've ever been in the ring with, and it's not even close. That guy is spectacular, and talk about a dude that took what he was given and just ran with it. And I remember thinking when we were having our first match, I was like, how far can I go with your disabilities this week? He goes, go for it. Get the reactions. There's nothing. He was very honest. He's like, there's nothing you can do that's going to hurt my feelings. And we just went out there and we tore it down. I love working with him. I honestly do not have enough good things to say about that guy. He is just stellar.
As we remember, the last biggest show you guys done for 2020 was when you guys wrestled at the Pepsi Center with more than 5,000 crowd, and it was well that you wrestled Gregory Irons that night.
Yep. That was the opening match that night. It was tied with another Make-A-Wish scenario. I remember, and the little guy's name is escaping me right now because I ended up in the hospital that night, so I was a little groggy. And it was all my fault. I took a knee to the lip, ended up with a handful of stitches, and but that was one of the Pepsi Center itself was cool, and the way that all came together. And that was the second time we've done it. The Pepsi Center actually supported us more that time. They promoted it through the show. They let us get out there a lot quicker because the first show, we had about 1,000 people still there with no promotion from them. But then we had to wait for the other team to leave, and they dragged their feet. And it was about an hour before we could even set the ring up to perform. And I don't care how, loyal your fans are, an hour after a game, it was almost 11 o'clock at night, a lot left. So we had about 500 to 600 people there still this time. And they promoted all through the show. All the champions were up. The Mammoth got involved, and the difference was incredible. But for me, being able to have that match with Gregory, have him win, bring the kid out was awesome. And then after, while I'm bleeding profuse, I got blood on my chest. The kid's terrified of me. I'm able to give him a high five. He then gets all happy. That was a highlight to my career at this point. One of the many highlights.
Any questions you want to add there, Nick?
Sure. Can you tell us what you would say to people who are trying to get into the business, like for someone who's just getting, like someone who's starting from the beginning? How do they get involved?
Best advice I can give someone at this point, if they want to get into it, be humble. Be extremely humble, especially at the beginning, because you don't know anything. You think you know stuff, you don't know nothing. Listen, don't be afraid to ask questions, but you need to put in the work. You do. It's not going to be you show up once a week, you roll around, you take a few bumps, and all of a sudden you're going to be a star. You need to practice, and that involves you need to go to the gym. I'm not saying you need to be clanging and banging and throwing up 500 pounds, but if your gym is yoga, your gym is running, your gym is something athletic to make yourself safer and healthier, you need to do that. You need to practice your character. You need to practice your speaking ability. You need to practice stage presence. People don't understand that professional wrestling is, while it's not a competitive sport, there's no, it's not football. It's not hockey. It's not basketball. It's a collaboration. It's an art form. You need to work just as hard at being a safe professional wrestler as any other sport does. I have an athletic base. I played all kinds of sports. You practiced every single day. You worked every single day. Wrestling's the same thing. Be humble and work hard.
All right. Among your careers and all the great things that you did at the Pepsi Center, but not just only that, can you give me your thoughts? Because last time we saw you in the ring, I remember this past March. Tell me that night, how does it feel when you wrestle in an AEW event up in Denver?
It was – I joked that the Pepsi Center actually had more people at it that night than AEW, so it wasn't even the biggest crowd I've wrestled in front of. But for having that chance, and I'm fairly confident I got that chance because the female referee there, Aubrey, had reffed a few of my matches in the past. So I think she put in a good word for me, and my job was simple: go out there and put Jimmy over, make him look like a monster, make him look good. So to say I was nervous, I really wasn't, because thinking pragmatically, Jimmy Havoc wouldn't be there if he was a bad wrestler, and he's not a bad wrestler. And I wasn't out there as some kind of joke. I was put out there because I know what I'm doing. So I just simply wanted to go out there, make Jimmy look as good as possible, and just put together a good product. And Jimmy, I got nothing but, good things to say about Jimmy. He was, professional. He was friendly. Like the whole experience was awesome. I got to see some of my heroes. I had Jake the Snake Roberts come up to me after and like give me some props. So that's how you do it, kid, in that raspy, gravelly voice. And about 20 minutes earlier, Jake had given one of the best promos I'd heard in years. So I'm like, wow, if I just made him smile, then I'm doing something right.
Can you, I know this is probably personal. We remember Aubrey Edwards when she used to work with you guys. And then when she came back that night in Denver and she saw all of you guys from the roster, did you remember when she saw you guys backstage? So can you give us a little?
Yeah, she absolutely remembered us. She's a very pivotal part of their roster at this point. So she was busy, but she came up to all of us, high fives, hugs, handshakes, was very happy to see us. And then she had to go do her job while I was sitting there just kind of twiddling my thumbs until I figured out I was wrestling. So she is another example of just hard work in this business paying off. And she's just, in my opinion, she's one of the best refs out there. She really just has the whole package, because the referee is just as important as the wrestlers in the ring, and she absolutely kills it every time I see her out there.
Anything you want to add that to Nate?
No, I think that basically, your questions were very good. And maybe I should say, where can people get you? Do you plan on having merchandise anytime soon?
I do. Whenever this all gets back to normal, and if I could give a date, I would, but I have no idea when when Rocky Mountain Pro is going to be running shows again, and I know there's a collaboration happening in actually as of today in CSW with DCW and all them, and I know Primo's had that wonderful event it was a wonderful event for a good cause, just unfortunate scenario that the country is in at this point. So yeah, I will be working on new merchandise soon, getting some pictures. It's just going to be a matter of whenever all of this kind of allows the freedom to do it again.
All right, now our final question is that now after the quarantine and after it's slowly going to open back up pretty soon, especially hopefully we can see Rocky Mountain Pro again. So what's the future goals for Serverino Corrente you have in mind along the future?
Future goals, when this all opens up again, whenever that happens, I'm going to get back out on the road. I had done a handful of shows out in Utah. I had gone out to Kansas. I want to start exploring more of the states because I would like to wrestle in as many states as possible throughout my career, however long that lasts. Locally in Denver, help, because Rocky Mountain Pro has now moved to a new venue in the Fast Performance Center downtown. Much more professional, much more centered on just the physicality and the physical nature of wrestling. Want to make that as successful as possible and just continue helping any student looking to make themselves better at this point. My goals aren't related more to myself. It's learning how to be a better coach, learning how to be a better influence in wrestling, because as crazy as everything is right now, I think wrestling is in as good of a spot as it's been in decades. And I want to be a small part of that, carrying that forward, making it better, making it less drama-filled, making it less toxic at times, as we're seeing with this speaking out movement, which absolutely needs to be happening, but it's a damn shame that it's been happening. I want to make professional wrestling and be more respected throughout the region, throughout as much as my impact can make. Those are my goals.
Is there anything else you want to say? You got a question in before we wrap it up soon?
Sure. So where can people reach out to you if they have questions about wrestling, or if they want to know where to follow you on social media? Can you elaborate?
Twitter is at the Severino Core, and Instagram, I believe it's at ASC or AS Corrente.
All
And
right.
Facebook is personal, so those are the two.
All right, before we wrap it up, if there's any shout outs you want to give for all your fans watching this, especially the Rocky Mountain Pro fans and your fans out there?
You can tag me, at me, snap me, postcard me, don't care. I don't have any fans because Severino Corrente is above you people. You just wait and see what Severino Corrente can be doing in wrestling. Hold your breath. It won't take that long.
All right, that's appreciated. Well, anyways, ladies and gentlemen, that's Severino Corrente in our podcast. Here, myself, Roel.
Myself, Nathan, here.
And thank you for watching Spring is the Action here at the Quarantine Podcast. Thanks a lot, people.